Mac to the Future livecast. Go! Episode number 24. And this is going to be a colossal show. Well, no, not really. It's going to be like most of the other shows where you decide whether or not you actually want to, watch it as we go on. I do have a couple of topics that I want to speak about this week. For the most part, a lot of this isn't going to be about Apple. There's something a little more important that I thought was going on, and I'm hoping that anybody watching this will please pay attention and give generously. Of course, I'm talking about Hurricane Harvey, which is currently kind of stalled over Texas. Couple of days before it hit, there was a lot of hype about this storm, and mea culpa, I put in a post saying, what's the big deal? It's a category 2 hurricane. Yeah, that's still pretty bad, but it's not like it's, end of the world kind of thing. And then just before it hits landfall, it blows up into a category 4. And the people in Houston, now I was a little kid, but I've been through quite a few hurricanes. I was actually born during Hurricane Donna in 1960, September 9th, 1960 in Fort Lauderdale. Then there was another one, and I can't remember the name of these two because I was very young. I was like 4 years old when the first one hit. Again, this is in Fort Lauderdale, and I was about 7 years old when the next one hit. And I can remember things like, we were only like 3 miles from the beach where I grew up. So when these storms would come in, it was a really big deal. And we had this huge plate glass window that was overlooking our dining room. And whenever we knew the storm was coming, my dad and my older brother would go outside with tape, and they would tape this huge window, because if anything hit it and it shattered, it could have been catastrophic to anybody that was there in the house, which of course was all of us. And so the two storms came in, and there was some flooding and a lot of wind. Of course, we lost power, but nothing. It doesn't even compare to what the people in Houston are going through right now. And it doesn't help either that there hasn't been a major storm that's hit that area in a long time. So, people get complacent when they don't experience something for a very, very long time. Another good example would be when Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida. It had been I guess it was that one in 1967 was the last hurricane that actually hit directly hit the South Florida area. So when Andrew was coming in, most people just kind of like had this la-di-da, big deal. It's just another storm. And, we've been through near hurricanes, which is just like the real thing. And they found out very, very quickly with Hurricane Andrew that it was not like the real thing. And there were parts of South Florida that were just completely devastated. So what I would ask you all to do, if you can, I've already given, would be if you can find it in your hearts to find a good charity, and there are some good ones out there, and please make a donation of some kind. I know that a lot of charities get kind of a bad rap because, part of what you donate ends up going toward, administrative fees and all of that. However, there's a website that you can go to, and I linked to it earlier. For goodness sake. Now I got to find it. It was called La La La. Don't you love it? I'm so prepared all the time. I am so prepared. Charity See, now I cannot find it, and this is really bugging me. So hold on, give me just a second here, because I am going to find out what the name of, and this is basically a website that you can use to check out various charities and see if they're really legit. If most of the money and support that they receive from people like you actually goes toward helping the people that they're talking about. Charity Navigator, and you can go to charitynavigator.org, and they'll have the lowdown on most of the typical charities that people know about. Some of the ones that are more religious based don't necessarily, they don't have to file, so they typically don't. But I'm going to splash up a couple of the ones here that have a pretty good reputation as far as taking most of the money and support that they get from people who donate and giving it to the various people that need it. First one is actually, it wasn't supposed to be that, but the United Way of Greater Houston. They've established a flood relief fund to help with recovery needs of those who were the most impacted. To give to the United Way Flood Relief Fund, go to unitedwayhouston.org/flood, or you can text UWFLOOD to 41444. Another one, and the United Way of Greater Houston gives back 87.1% of all donations. Another one is, I got two of these. Oh, God. Are they all going to be like this? Okay, you know what? For some reason, they were all ended up like that. I know why. I know why it happened. Okay. All right, then I'll just have to tell you. It's the way OBS works, but it basically, instead of making new texts across the top of the screen, it just kept repeating the same one over and over again. First one is the American Red Cross, and to make a financial donation, you can visit their website at www.redcross.org. You can call 1-800-RED-CROSS or text Harvey, HARVEY, to 90999 to make a $10 donation for those in need. And the American Red Cross gives back 90.1% of all of the monies and everything else that they get from people. So that's not too bad. Another good one is Donor's Choice, and they have a fundraising campaign that's earmarked specifically for classrooms affected by Harvey. To donate or find out more, you can go to DonorsChoose.org, and they give back 94.2% of what they receive. There's also an organization called Global Giving, and to make a financial donation, you can visit their website or text Harvey to 801-008-0100 to donate $10 to Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund, and they give back 96.1% of everything that they receive. And I know that a lot of you out there are animal lovers, as am I. There's a couple of specific organizations that are kind of trying to deal with the Hurricane Harvey stuff in regards to our fine furry friends. One is the Houston SPCA, the Houston Humane Society, and the San Antonio Humane Society. They're all there to kind of help out and do what they can to help the animals that are stranded because of this horrible storm. If you prefer to give to more religious-based charities, and there's nothing wrong with doing so if that's what you want to do. There's Catholic Charities of the USA, and you can make a financial donation. Visit Catholic Charities of the USA disaster-specific website, or you can text 71777 to make a donation. There's also the Salvation Army. You can make a financial donation by visiting helpsalvationarmy.org. You can also call them at 1-800-SAL-ARMY or text STORM to 51555, 51555. And the last one here, the mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, has established a Hurricane Harvey relief fund that will accept tax-deductible donations. The fund is administered by the Greater Houston Community Foundation, which is a 501c public charity. To make a financial donation, visit the, let's see, what is this? Greater Houston Community Foundation website. And I'm sure, I don't have a link for that, but I'm sure if you look up Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund or the Greater Houston Community Foundation, you'll find a link to it there. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, or at least in the very beginning. I think that a lot of us who have experienced hardships in our lives related to natural disasters, or if we've ever experienced anything like that, we know what we kind of know what it's like. I'm not going to compare what I went through as a child to what the people in Houston are going through right now. So I've already made a donation, and you can also make donations. I know that Facebook has a charity set up, or a matching donation set up, and of course you can also, if you want to donate directly from your phone or your computer, Apple has a couple of websites set up where they'll take your donations and make sure that it gets to the Red Cross. I think that's who they're actually linked up with. Whoa, boy, my computer is just like freaking out tonight. Come on, there we go. I'm trying to get back to, I've been yakking here for a while. I haven't been looking at the stuff that you guys may or may not have been saying. What is going on here? My computer is freaking out. My web browser is locking up. Come on. I am so sorry. I can't quite get this to work right. All right. Well, I think I've given most of the information. God, this is so frustrating. What is going on here? Most of the information that I can't. Oh, man. Nothing is working. Nothing is working. Hey, Brian. So frustrating. Anyway, so ain't we got fun? So please, if you can, give to any one of the charities that I mentioned previously, or if if there's some other charity that you want to give to instead of the ones I mentioned, that's fine too. And I think if I can find it, I'm having trouble. I got so many screens here. I'm going to back out of this section. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the iPhone 8. The iPhone 8. Can you believe it? We're like, 2 weeks away from this? Anyway, we'll be right back in just a second. Are you a new Mac user or an old hand? Wish you could know the ins and outs, keyboard shortcuts, or hidden tips and tricks to make you more efficient using your favorite computer? Hey, it's your lucky day, because Edward Eisen has written a great guide to knowing more about the Mac and the OS that it runs on. It's called This is the Light Side, and it's available through Apple's iBookstore or with Amazon. Better yet, it's not a stuffy old book that gathers dust on the shelf once the next operating system is released, because it's an ebook that you can look at anytime you want. It won't get outdated because it's continuously being updated. Information on setting up your new Mac, installing and getting rid of applications, security settings and what to look out for, keyboard shortcuts, some basic app recommendations, how to use Windows on your Mac, if you really want to, that is, advanced topics, searching, using iCloud, and much more. All this for a mere 99 cents. Go to the iBookstore or Amazon and check out Edward Eisen's This Is the Light Side. It's the book you want on your virtual shelf. Okay, we are back. One of the big rumors going on right now is that the iPhone 8, or whatever they end up calling it, is going to be announced on September 12th, a mere 3 days before my birthday. So if anybody wants to buy me an iPhone 8, that would be like the perfect gift that you could give me. I'm not counting on it though. One of the big rumors is that there's not going to be a home button, and nearly everything that we use the home button will be gesture based. It's supposed to have a taller screen and smaller bezels. It's also supposed to have a gestured raised dock on the bottom, similar to what we've seen in for the iPad as a place for common applications, instead of the hard dock that we've had since the beginning. Well, since the phone first came out. It's supposed to have a better front-facing camera for facial recognition to unlock the phone, with an infrared sensor for low light situations. Now, this is all supposed to be for the high-end phone, with two lower-end models that are supposed to be somewhat similar to the 7 and the 7 Plus. Now, I don't think that a lot of this is going to actually happen. I could see losing the home button, and I could see having gesture-based dock at the bottom there. For the applications that we typically use, I can see the facial sensor for unlocking your phone. What I don't think is going to happen is that they're going to dumb down the other models. I think we're going to end up with 3 models, a big one, like the plus size ones that we have now, a regular one, which is still bigger than like the 4s and all the rest of that, 4s and 5s that came before it. And I think that they're also going to update the SE, keep that form factor, the 4-inch screen. A lot of people just don't want great big huge phones. So, I'm sure Apple will give them what they want. I mean, why force people to only use great big huge phones? I mean, it's part of the reason why so many people didn't upgrade from some of their other phones. So, yeah, that's what I think there's going to be the great big huge plus phone with a lot of the stuff that they've talked about here. Medium-sized phone that, these are phones that are basically the equivalent of the 7 and the 7 Plus, and a smaller phone, the SE-sized phone, for people that don't want a huge behemoth of a phone. Now, I'm still on the 6 Plus, so I'm back 2 gens right now, and when the 8 or whatever they end up calling it comes out, I'll be 3 gens back. So that might be time for me to spend a little cash and get the next phone. Things I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to losing the earpiece, not the earpiece, the headphone jack. I use that headphone jack and have in the past for talking to people on Skype and bringing that into the podcast when I do stuff mobily. And, I imagine that there may be other ways to do it, or I'll have to get a dongle that goes in through the lightning port at the bottom. But it's just, sometimes the amount of change that we deal with just doesn't seem to be worth it. I was not a huge big fan of them getting rid of the headphone jack, but it is what it is. It's what they did, and they're not going to go back and put the headphone jack in now. I just can't see them doing that. We have a couple of comments here. Brian Monroe says, pick up the AirPods. They're great. They are. I have seen them, and it's some really, really cool tech. I'm not really that concerned with having headphones of some kind that plug directly into the phone. That's not really an issue for me, because most of the time when I'm listening to podcasts or I'm listening to music, I'm doing it through Bluetooth, which of course, the AirPods are, but I mean Bluetooth in my car. What I was using that port for, as I said, was for getting Skype audio out of the phone, and either through a mixer or something else in such a way that I could mix my microphone and the microphones of the other people that are there around me and record a podcast along with somebody on Skype. And then we just use the microphone and the phone for them to be able to hear us. But without a headphone jack, that becomes a little more difficult. I don't know of any relatively inexpensive or small audio interfaces that will accept a Bluetooth input. I'm sure there are some. God, there's mixers for just about anything that you want to do, but I don't know of any that I could put into a backpack and take to a conference or something like that. And like I said, when I went to the MacStock conference in Chicago in July, got together with Dave Hamilton and John F. Braun and Tim Robertson and David Cohen and a number of different people, and had them sit down, and we recorded podcasts with my mobile setup. And as I showed a couple weeks ago, now the way I had to do it was using a program like Loopback and Audio Hijack, which are two great programs, in order to get the breakout of all the different microphones in a DAW so that I could, edit it all separately. But now with this is the Presonus. I showed this to you a couple of weeks ago. The Presonus, what do they call this? The VSL 44 or something like that. That's going to give me 4 direct outputs that I can use in a DAW. Now, what I haven't tried it yet with is my iPad. I really, really want to try that with my iPad and see if I can use some of the DAWs that are available for iOS and get those 4 separate outputs. I have a feeling I can. Apple does a pretty good job of providing common drivers for a lot of this equipment. So let's see here. Going back to the comments. Are there Lightning to 3.5-inch adapters? Yes, there are. You can get a Lightning adapter that has a 3.5 output. Maybe it can even be used as an input. I haven't really looked into that, but it's what I'm going to have to do eventually if I get. Boy, my throat is all messed up today. If eventually I get another phone, so need to hook up to the M Vans radio. yeah, that's gonna work. I actually do know why my throat is a little bit messed up. Last weekend, now the weekend before that, I'd gone to see the eclipse. Last weekend, my son Guy Jr. had been living in Boston, and he'd been there for almost a year. And he and his roommate decided that it really wasn't working out that well. I mean, it was somewhat financial, somewhat, Guy just didn't feel like his career was going anywhere in Boston. So he's kind of taking a time out, coming back home, figuring out what he wants to do next. Perfectly understandable. So we'll see what he decides do. I know he wants to do more along the lines of writing, since that's what his degree is in. But I flew up there, and I hate flying. I despise flying with every inch of the fiber of my being. I hate flying. But for the first time, I flew JetBlue, and it was basically just from Reagan Airport up to Logan in Boston. So it's an hour and a half, hour 45-minute flight. And even though it was a short flight, I have to say, JetBlue kind of hit it out of the park as far as an airline carrier goes. The seats were comfortable. I had enough leg room. I was allowed to pay a little bit more up front so that I could check a bag, not at the ridiculous price that other carriers charge, like at $35 a freaking bag. It was how much was it? It was about $25 to be able to check the bag in, but that also gave me the ability to pick a seat. So, I was very comfortable. It was a nice, smooth flight. Got there. His roommate wasn't around too much. So it was mostly Guy and myself taking all of this stuff. He was in like this third floor walk up, and it was just this rickety wooden staircase that went down the back that could be used. That's where we had the truck. And most of the stuff that I had taken up there the year before, they were just dumping, because it was crap when they took it out of the house. It was crap when they stored it in my carport. It was crap when they put it into the truck to take up to Boston. And it was crap that entire year that they were there. So most of it just got put out onto the street. But we were up and down those steps over and over and over again. And then, of course, the long drive from Boston back down to the DC area, which is about 10 hours, maybe a little bit longer, because I don't like going down the I-95 corridor, which takes you through New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore before you get to DC. So there's 4 major cities that you have to deal with their traffic, and I'd just rather not. So there was a different route that kind of takes you on a westerly, kind of around all that, and it adds about an hour to the trip, but it's much, much more relaxing. So we got back here from Boston Monday, unloaded the truck on Tuesday, and I took it back to the people we rented the truck from. And then I got to work today, and of course had to spend a lot of extra time trying to get caught up from being away for 2 days. And it's just, a lot of it is just so exhausting. And the fun never starts, because next Tuesday, I go back to the dentist to have the implants put in for the 2 molars that he took out, earlier in August. So yeah, more fun. I'm hoping that it won't interfere with doing the podcast. I may just be in too much pain, or I'll go ahead and, hit up the painkillers, which will always makes for a fun show. But I think that's gonna be about it. Let's see. Heavy drinking at Macstock. Well, not so much for me. I'm really not much of a drinker. And you love I-95 for the cities? You like going through all that city traffic, Frank? Okay. Better you than me. I wouldn't do it if I can avoid it. So I think that's going to do it for oh, you know what I forgot to mention? And this happens to me every week. Something comes up and it's like, okay, I'm going to go now. And then I don't, because there's something I forgot to mention. Also on the September 12th event, it is rumored that there's going to be a new Apple TV with 4K support and a new Apple Watch. Now, I've got an Apple 3rd gen, which was the 1st gen that was the little black square. And that wasn't bad. I was reasonably happy with that. Then there was when the 4th gen came out, I bought one of those too. And, in some ways it's better. The Siri integration I really, really liked. I keep waiting for Apple to finish what they promised as far as reinventing television. So far, I haven't really seen it. Hopefully, this will be a step closer in that direction. I hope. But we'll see. And of course, the new watch. One of the rumors with the watch is that it'll have an independent SIM in it for, to directly connect it to cellular, which I'm sure makes the cellular phone companies happy because it's another line they can charge us for. What I'd really like to see along those lines would be that your phone and your watch would essentially share a number and that you can switch between them. So if you have your phone on you, then your calls come in on your phone. If you only have your watch on you, you're out running or you're just doing some errands or you just wanted to go pick up a pizza or, whatever it was, then you could switch it so that just the watch gets the phone calls. And that would make sense to me. But to have a separate number, another phone number that I have to deal with for just a watch for the few occasions when I might want something like that. No, I just don't see that. Anyway, Brian Monroe says that there is a Lightning to 3 point. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I thought, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they included it. I forgot about that. Thank you, Brian. They included that one in the box. And if you need more of them, Brian says they're cheap for $9, and I'm sure there's cheaper ones on Amazon. Anyway, that, I swear to God, that is going to do it for this evening. Thanks to everyone who showed up. I really, really do appreciate it. If you would like to leave a comment, I would like to point down to the bottom of the screen where eventually I'll have something there that tells you how to get a hold of me. But other than that, since I don't have that, you can reach me. Email guy@mttfgo.com, mttfgo.com. You can reach me on the Twitters. I am Mac Parrott. And we have a Skype telephone number that is now being completely ignored by 2 different podcasts. And that number is 703-436-9501. 703-436-9501. And if anybody would like to call that number and order a pizza or whatever, please do so. I would love to be able to say, we have a Skype telephone number, we have a Skype call, but yeah, every single week it's like, yeah, we don't have a Skype call. Anyway, thank you all so very, very much for joining me this evening. And we shall hopefully, unless, I get knocked out from implanted teeth, we'll see you next week. Oh, I almost forgot that. No, actually, I didn't forget anything. I'm just kind of keep going so that the entire message, which is, 10 seconds or so behind, can get a chance to finish. Get a chance to finish.